What's up YouTube, and welcome back to another Procreate tutorial where today I'm going to show you how you can create this really fluffy monster. Now, I will just very quickly tell you that I am planning a future version of this. Now, as always, all of the requirements are available over on my Patreon completely for free, and you can grab the palette, the canvas size, and everything else is built into Procreate. Now, I do mention in this tutorial multiple times that there will probably be a part 2, and at the very end I make sure that our layers are exactly the same. So I give you at the very end sort of the instructions to triple check your layers look exactly like mine, so you are 100% prepared for a second version. That second version is going to be available over on my Patreon. So if you want to participate with part 2, it'll be available over there. And while you're there, make sure to check it out, because that's where I post 3 exclusive tutorials every single month. And the catalogue sits at over 140 exclusive tutorials at the time of recording. And when you're done with today's design, make sure to tag me in it wherever you decide to share it. And with all that said, let's get started. So once you've created your canvas, we're going to go up to our actions. We're going to go ahead and add a drawing guide. Let's edit that drawing guide. Change it to a grid size of 500 and hit done, and then hit done again. Now we want to go ahead and actually create a grid as an image, because we're also going to use the symmetry drawing assist, and you can't use both at the same time. It's really easy to do. Just go up to your layers and tap on the empty layer here and go to drawing assist. So now it's going to use that. Let's then go ahead and go to our colors. Let's just say grab black at the bottom of the disc there. Go to your brush. Go ahead and tap on the monoline brush. So for you, it will be under calligraphy and the monoline brush. And just triple check your layer says assisted, which it does. If it doesn't, just tap on it and turn it on. And then all you want to do is just run across the lines of the grid. That's all I want you to do, is just create a grid that we can keep hold of in our layers, so that we can then go ahead and use the symmetry tool as well. And then you can go ahead and just simply tap on this and bring its opacity right down to about 5%. And then we can go ahead and, as I said, go up to your actions, edit your drawing guide, go to symmetry, set the option to vertical and hit done. So we use the grid system, or I do in my tutorial, so that you can lay things out accordingly, make sure the scale and size is the same based off of the grid on your screen and mine. Otherwise a blank canvas sometimes is a bit tricky to do that. So we're going to go ahead and create a new layer. We'll drag it underneath our guide. We will tap on it and we will use the drawing assist. While we're here, let's go ahead and go to our background color and grab the color in the bottom right of the palette. It's ever so slightly off-white. And then we're going to go ahead and hit done. On this empty layer here, we want to go ahead and go to our colors. We want top left of the palette. Your brush wants to be set to the monoline brush under calligraphy. And you may want to go ahead and go to the monoline brush and go to stabilization, and then just boost this up a tiny bit, just so you can take your time, and then it will smooth those lines out a little bit for you. It's not mandatory to make them super perfect, but you know, every little helps. So I've just maxed out my monoline brush size. You want to be midway through here roughly, so I'm just going to come down, round, in like this. You can see my shape's not perfect in any way, because I want to get the basic shape in there first, and then we can just go ahead and just round that in a bit more at the top, drag and drop your color in, and you can just keep making adjustments. And as I kind of already mentioned, I'm going to show you loads of tips later on how to actually adjust this freely. So something like this is fine. Let's then go ahead and create a new layer, drag it underneath again, tap on it, and we'll drawing assist this as well. We're going to move down into this sort of bottom body area here. I want it to kind of just sort of bow in a little bit at the top and then round it off at the bottom. And then I'll just link that at the top and drag and drop my color into all those little gaps. That's our body. Again, I could probably adjust this. I could probably go to freeform, just squish that up a tiny bit. I don't want it to be too big. And then let's go ahead and go to our layers and create another new layer. Drag it underneath, tap on it again, use the drawing assist. We're going to create some arms, and I want them to kind of just follow suit almost with the curvature of the body there. So I'm going to sort of bring them in from a shoulder joint, round and then in like this, and then all the way around. Drag and drop your color in, and then just take a look at it, see if you want to make any adjustments. Maybe I can just sort of drag that out a little bit lower almost than the sort of body there, just to give it a bit more of a cartoony look. Let's then go ahead and continue with some of the darker shapes. So let's create a new layer and drag it underneath the last one we were working on. So we'll drag it underneath. We'll tap on it and we'll add the drawing assist. Let's add in some kind of like hoof-like shapes down here at the bottom. So let's bring the brush size down a little bit, maybe down to about 27%. So let's just go from around about here. You can draw out sort of one if you can, and then draw in like a middle one, and then the last one, and then just link them up at the top. So you can drag and drop your color in, and you can kind of get an idea for your shapes then. and we can move them up ever so slightly. Make sure you have snapping turned on for this tutorial, because then you'll go ahead and just see the orange line. You can move it up perfectly. We'll continue with some other elements. Now we want to be in front of the arms for a second. We're going to create a new layer. We're going to tap on it and add the drawing assist to it as well. We want the brush size to be a lot smaller, probably down to 1%. And then just down here, we're going to create some like claw-like shapes. So one claw followed by another claw on the inside. Now do not worry about the top end here, just kind of round them off and then drag and drop the color in to both. Make sure you don't leave any little gaps. We'll go ahead and tidy those up later on. You could potentially add like a third one if you wanted to, just a little one, just like here. And I'll drag and drop the color into there. We're going to hide them in the fur later on, but for now, they're going to be the inside. Let's then move up in towards the top area. Now I want to go ahead and go underneath the body and create a new layer again. We're going to stick with the same color and brush, but we're going to tap on this layer and of course drawing assist it. We're going to create the horns. So we're just underneath the head here. Now we can do this in one motion or you can do it in two. It's totally up to you. You can go round and in towards the point there and kind of wrap it round and then link them together and drag and drop your color in. Just something fun like that. When I said you can do it in 2 steps, you can kind of do that curve round and then do it again by letting go if you need to. We've got more shapes to create, so we're going to go in front of the face now and create a new layer again. If you need to, just turn off your body and otherwise your arms as well, just temporarily. Because on this layer, we're going to tap on it and add the drawing assist. We're going to add in the mouth. So we're going to go to our colors. We're going to grab this black tone here, middle of the first column. We want to go ahead and zoom in on the face. Now it's just more so about positioning here. I'm going to go maximum size on the brush size. And then just above that halfway mark, I'm going to kind of draw in a curve here and just run that over into the corner. And then from there, I'm just going to go ahead and create the bottom half of the mouth. And you can make that a little bit sharper if you need to. For example, if you hold down on your eraser right now, it will switch it to the monoline brush. And if you max out your size, you can just round off the end there. Make sure you spend some time though actually sort of making sure it's nice and tidy, potentially, if that's something you need to do. And you can see I'm just inside there, the middle half of the actual face. Again, we can always adjust this later on. I'm going to give you so much more flexibility later. Let's go ahead and create a new layer. Let's go to our colors and we will grab, we want to grab first of all white. Let's double tap in the top left to select white. We need to draw in the eyes. Now the eyes are going to sit within this kind of row here. So we're going to go ahead and just draw in a circle. Hold your pen down at the end and of course pop one finger on the screen for a minute. Let's make it a perfect circle. Let's just scale it to around about say here and drag and drop our color in. Now we are going to do just one eye because I want to make sure if your pupil is ever so slightly wrong, you've got the option to flip it, see what it looks like and then make a change if needs be. So we're going to preserve the layers of our eyes. We're going to swipe it to the left and duplicate it. We're going to grab the bottom one out the two and go to your colors. Just grab this blue here for a minute, top of the second column and drag it into the circle. So it's the one underneath. You can see one's blue and one is now white. Grab the white one, grab your cursor, use uniform and just scale it down in size. Position it in the middle-ish because you can leave a little bit of excess kind of eye socket to like more towards the top edge if you need to, like this. I've got a little bit of a nicer kind of slightly larger bit towards the top. Then I'm going to go ahead and swipe that white one to the left and duplicate it. I'm going to go ahead and on the top one, go to my colors. I'm going to go ahead and grab this color here, top of the third column from the right, drag it into the center, then go to your cursor, then go ahead and use uniform again and just scale that down in size and position it somewhat like here, for example, maybe a teeny tiny bit smaller than that. And this is really important for later on. So we'll just scale it down to here. You don't want your sort of monster to potentially have like crooked eyes potentially. So that's why we're just going to save our layers. We will then swipe that layer to the left and duplicate it again. Go to your colors and grab the black just beside that. So top of the fourth column from the right. Drag it into there. That's your pupil. And if you grab your cursor, use uniform again, scale it down in size, stick it in the middle of there. And I think that's enough of a gap. We'll tap on our cursor when we're done. That blue area there is going to be where you can color in later. Just a couple more shapes to create. We're going to go ahead, first of all, and swipe all of these circles to the left or to the right even and group them together. And we'll rename this and just call it eye because we're going to have a few layers there later on. We're going to go ahead and leave the eyebrows till later. So the only thing now to do is just the nose. So we'll go ahead and create a new layer, tap on it, drawing assist it, go to your colors. You can go ahead and grab white just for a minute, just so you can see it on screen, and just set your brush size to like a 17% maybe. Zoom in ever so slightly, and then for the nose, you just want to go ahead and just create like a bit of an arc across, like so. And then from there, you want to just create like the center point of the nose. So just create like a rounded shape like that. Round this off just a tiny bit until you get something a little like this. Just a simple kind of cartoony nose. You don't have to overthink this one or try and make it too realistic in any way. Just something fun. Let's then bring in the rest of our layers that we turned off. So you should have something that looks a little like this. Now, I've probably already mentioned this, but while I'm talking about the layers, it's important to remember I'm potentially going to do a part 2 to this. So if you'd like to participate with the part 2, you're going to want to make sure if I flatten something, you also flatten it. And if I don't, just try and preserve those layers because we'll have a further use for them later on. So we're going to go ahead and on that last layer we were working on, just go to your colors and grab the dark tone here, bottom of the 5th column, and drag it into the nose. And there we go. Let's just start adding in some color. So we're going to start with the face because that will really help us reveal the rest of it. Now let's just go to the body and just turn the opacity down just so you can see the bottom of it a little bit. So I've just gone down to 81%. It's only temporary. And then just in front of the face here, we're going to go ahead and create a new layer. We're going to tap on it. We're going to go ahead and use the drawing assist. I'm not going to clip it. I'm just going to use the drawing assist, and I'm going to go to my brush color and I'm going to grab the top of the 2nd column. We then want to go to our brush library, and you want to be in the option of materials, and we want the option of fine hair. Now I've got a brush size saved here of 25%. That's going to be roughly where we sort of stick for the majority of this. Now at this point, you can start to, of course, detail your little monster. Now each brush stroke looks something like that. If I press really firm, I get something massive as well. It's pressure sensitive, so you can have lots of fun with it, and it's a matter of building this up. Don't go too heavy with the color too quickly, and we're just trying to make sure we just add in some hair. Now before we carry on, we actually want to go ahead and go to the head shape layer here, go to your adjustments, go to Gauge and Blur, and swipe from left to right so you get 9%. What that will do is that will also just aid the kind of fuzziness of it. So then you can go back to your layer, which has now got your hairs on, and you can just start detailing. Think about the flow and how the flow of the fur might kind of run down. Rotate your canvas if it's a little easier, and just try and make the sort of consistency really key. You know, make sure that your lines are kind of flowing in the same direction, same kind of sort of length to them. And initially, start off while your pressure is nice and light, so that you can just show the flow of the fur. Okay, you want to just kind of get that going, get a little bit more of the blue, just stray in a little bit further at the top there, so you can go a bit upright at the top here, almost like he's got a middle part in. And then as it kind of quickly gets through here, I'm going to try and think about diverting the fur down the bridge of the nose there, just a little bit in there, and I'm pressing quite lightly because I don't want to have too much kind of fur in certain areas. I would just want the option to be able to just dictate the flow of it, and then some areas will be sacrificed to just have a little bit of darkness in there. And we're just going to keep making our way down. We want to go ahead and add some just past the nose and towards that top end of the lip there, just sort of flowing across, and then as it kind of, I imagine, kind of flicks out almost like here, I want to make sure I add in some slightly larger ones, almost like whiskers here. So it's like the front of the face has a little bit going on there that's sort of stemming from sort of off of the top lip there. And then you just want to tuck in some hairs underneath there, off to the end. And then you want to kind of think about them sort of curving them inwards as they go round sort of the underside of the lip here. Can we go ahead and kind of start curving them round? Now, to be honest with you, it's also easier to start at the bottom. Start at the bottom of the shape, because you can then much easier in a second layer on the fur. And don't be afraid to like let one randomly just flick out like it's a bit messy. I love that. So we're just going to layer it in. So I started at the bottom there. I'm going to also think about sort of changing the angle ever so slightly here and there, just so that the fur is not all super matching. Of course, be aware that when you get towards the center, if you do this kind of crisscross thing, it's going to get really heavy in there. So try to just bear that in mind. And then I'm going to kind of start to create some curves here as well. I apologize if my camera might wobble ever so slightly as I'm doing this. There's lots of repetition and repeating movement. So you can see I'm just creating like a bit of a curve. Curves are important there just to, again, show contour of the face. There we go. I'm going to send a few hairs a little bit astray here and there. You'll see me jump from side to side. It's just like, feels quite natural to do that. And also rotate the canvas as well, just to make sure that the angles are really comfortable for me as I'm drawing. Now, please, if you are sort of making your way through this, please triple check if you're subscribed to the channel. I know so many people aren't subscribed to the channel who maybe watch these videos every single week. And there's a huge amount of people who watch my videos who are not subscribed. So if you could do that for me, that'd be amazing. You'd be supporting me and the channel, and it'd be well appreciated if you could check. Let's just go ahead and create some flicks out at the sides here, just a little bit of messiness here and there, especially here maybe in front of the horns at the top, just a few little stray ones, a few more at the top. I'll create some more there for kind of like the browish area. We do have like sort of quite fake eyebrows to create in a second. I just want to emphasize a little bit more here. Now we do have an add layer to add in a moment, which is going to help us really brighten up certain areas. It's just, again, making sure that flow of our little cheeky faces is all there. Let's just keep going, but we also want some downward facing ones there, just some general ones. Very light in certain areas, trying not to overdo it at all. Maybe a little bit just towards the top of the nose here, just to add in like a little bit more of a chunk to it, just to show it kind of sticks up a bit more. And then from there, we'll go ahead and work on our eye, because I want to go ahead and try and make sure that this area here starts to come together nicely. So what we'll do is on the eye, we're going to go ahead and open it up. We've got the blue layer at the bottom. We're going to go ahead and tap on it and alpha lock it, so we can't paint outside of it. We're going to go to our colors. We want to go ahead and grab the color top left of the palette, and you want to grab your brush. Set your airbrushing to the soft brush. We'll set the size to about sort of 10%-ish, maybe a little bit bigger than that. And then we're just going to blend across the top here, leaving the kind of bottom edge a little bit like a brighter blue. So we're kind of creating a gradient of blue there, and you'll end up with a bit of an indent at the top, which we can actually make more prominent later on. Let's then move up a layer. So we've got the white of the eye. Let's go ahead and just create a new layer though for this, and tap on it and clipping mask it. Go to your colors. We want to go ahead and grab this color here, top of the 6th column. And we're going to add in some blue. Now I'm going to set my brush size a little bit smaller. I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this round. So around about sort of 5 to 6%. Just take your time, really lightly, just to start with. My pressure is so light at the minute. And then I'm slowly going to build that up, wrapping the blue around the top of the eye, just kind of showing a bit of the overhang of the brow potentially. And then you can, once you've started to get a good amount of sort of blend in there, you can press it a little bit firmer just to make sure that the very top edge is a little bit darker. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and just add in a little bit of blue down here as well, just again to hopefully aid the curvature of the eye. So a little something like that. Then go to your layers and create another new layer. Tap on it and clipping mask it. Go to your colors, and we'll grab the black at the top there of the 7th column. I'm going to bring the brush size down just a smidge, down to 4%. And just around the bottom of the eye, I'm going to take my time just to build in a bit of a darker tone. So we start off there, and then we're going to probably build that in one more time. And that's probably a little bit too dark. I want to make sure that darkness is right up against the edge, and it just blends out at the top here. Likewise, just kind of blends round over here. So it's just ever so slightly darker at the bottom. Let's carry on with the eye. So we're going to move up into the next layer above, the blue circle, and create a new layer and tap on it and clipping mask it. You want to start off with your color being set to this beautiful blue top of the 2nd column from the right. Your brush wants to be set to around about sort of the size and width of the gap. So I've got mine down to about 2% here. I'm going to go ahead and just lightly in the kind of bottom left area here, just wrap in a beautiful bit of blue, making sure it's got a nice little bit of color in there. Just wrapping it round, maybe a tiny bit up there, very tiny amount. Then go to your colors and grab black. Again, top of that 4th column from the right. It's ever so slightly not black. And you want to go round the outside edge here, just darkening that up. really creating like a lovely blend of colours, so it's a little bit dark around there. Then what you want to do is go to your layer and create another new layer. Change the blend mode from normal to the option of add, and then tap on it and clipping mask it as well. So we can tap on it and we can clipping mask it. We'll go to our colours and we'll grab the blue again, top of the second column from the right. And then if you set your brush size to just slightly smaller than what it was, so maybe like a 1%, you want to zoom in, and then you want to kind of create lots of little lines all pointing in towards the center, but blending out as they get up here. And then they're a bit stronger down here. And again, they just kind of very quickly blend out as you kind of get round. So you end up with this beautiful blue kind of corner down here. Take your brush size to about 2% again, if not slightly larger, and just give that a very light, just extra bit of punch in there, and you'll make the eye look so cool. Now, the sort of finishing sort of touch to this is if you go ahead and go in front of the black circle, you can go ahead and create a new layer, go to your colors and grab white, top of the fifth column. Brush size, probably, yeah, that 1 to 2% size. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then just over here, you kind of just want to create like a bit of a highlight. You can blend it out at the kind of bottom area here, but just a bit of a highlight there, top right of the eye. And you can just mess around with the angle of that. You can grab your cursor, maybe rotate it, move it a tiny bit towards the top a bit more. And I could even swipe it to the left, I reckon, and duplicate it just to make it even whiter and more cartoony. Now, the only thing I'm going to do with my eye there is I'm just going to go ahead and grab the pupil, grab my cursor and use uniform and just scale it down a tiny bit more and then put it back where it was. And then you may have to adjust the blues that you added earlier. I just want to give myself a lot more blue in there. And then I think I might even go ahead and grab the center of the eye by swiping from left to right. These are fixes that you could potentially make as well. I'm just going to tap a few times just to kind of move it around, make it a little bit more head on, I think, and maybe a little bit lower as well. A little bit lower into that kind of bottom corner, and tap on my cursor when I'm done. Now, it's at this stage, it's really important that you're happy with your eye. However, if you're not, of course, just keep making little tweaks like I am. But when you're ready, what you can do is you can go ahead and collapse the eye group down, hold down on the tick to turn everything off and also turn off your background color. Tap away, swipe down with 3 fingers and go to copy all, swipe down with 3 fingers and go to paste. That will have pasted in your eye as a whole new layer. And then what you want to do is just turn on your background color again, hold down on the tick and it will bring back in all your layers. And then this inserted image, go ahead and swipe it to the left and duplicate it. Turn off the group for a minute. And then this extra one, just grab your cursor and flip it horizontally and move it across. Now you want to make sure snapping is turned on here. You want to move it across until you see these 3 blue lines, which lets you know that you've moved perfectly horizontal. Now what you can then do is just tap on your cursor, go to both eyes and swipe from left to right on both of them. Then go back to your cursor and you can just hit the orange line or there enough, making sure your points here are in the center of your canvas. And then you can take a look at your monster's eyes and see if there's anything you want to change. Because they are 2 individual shapes, you can still go ahead and maybe grab your cursor and bring that across a bit more. You can go ahead and then go back to the layer, select them both and grab your cursor. And again, just realign it in the center and just keep checking until you're happy with them. You may even want to make the eyes smaller, larger. It's totally up to you. You can have a lot of fun with this and really, use your own creativity to see what you come up with. However, in case you don't like what you see, you can just go ahead and delete both of those layers. You can then go back to your eye, turn on the eye group and see what changes you would make. Maybe you'd want to go ahead and emphasize the shadow at the bottom there, for example. Maybe I'll even gauge and blur mine by just making it a bit darker and then gauge and blurring it to get a little bit more of a softer look to it. I may want to go ahead and emphasize the blue at the top a bit more, like so. You may want to do any of these and then gauge and blur that too, just to make it a little bit more rounded potentially. It's totally up to you. Again, when you're happy, just pinch those sort of elements together. And then repeat. Just go ahead and hold down on the group tick. Turn off the background color. 3 fingers down, so you want to go ahead and tap away. Swipe down with 3 fingers and go to copy all. Go back to your layers and turn on the tick again, or hold down on it. Turn on your background color. Then swipe down with 3 fingers and go to paste. Then go back to your layer, swipe it to the left and duplicate it. Turn off your group for a minute, and then grab one of the eyes and grab your cursor and flip it horizontally and move it across. Now, the only thing I'm going to look for is scale. I think the eyes might be ever so slightly too big. So I'm going to grab both of them by swiping from left to right and just scale them down. I want to put them in the center and just triple check I'm happy with that. I want that kind of overly large sort of body shapes rather than the eyes. So that looks pretty good to me. I like the scale of those. If you're interested in the scale of mine, I'll tap on my cursor for you. We've got 299 by, of course, 299. And tap on our cursor when we're done. I'm pretty happy with the positioning of them, so I'm going to go ahead and leave them as they are. I could pinch the two of them together, however, onto one layer. Now your eye group is totally up to you if you want to keep it. You've got free reign over this one. You can swipe it to the left and delete if you want to. I shouldn't need it for sort of a second version of this if I do it, so you can delete it. Now it's at this stage where we can go back to our fur layer and we can go back to our color, grab the top of the second column, brush. You can go back in with the option of materials and you want that fine hairbrush again. And now you've got sort of your actual final kind of position. You can just maybe sort of add in an additional, a little amount of fur, just maybe around the eye. Some of it might even be temporary for a minute because we're probably going to get rid of it in a second, but it's just adding in a little bit of detail. You can maybe even kind of just round the edge of the eye socket here, add in a little bit of extra color like that, just round the eye, and start also thinking about maybe where you want to brighten up the most. The lighting I'm imagining is from the top, so it's all going to be a very downward sort of shadowed and lit area. So we're just going to keep making flicks like this, up and out a little bit more at the top as well. Have some nice funky ones, just going a little bit astray. It'll make it really fun and just fluffy and a bit different. So there we go. Keep going with that. Now that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to go ahead and add in the brighter tone. So I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and tap on this layer and change its blend mode to add. I'll leave it at 100% because we can always tone it down later. And I'm going to tap on the layer and add the drawing assist. I'm going to go to my colors and grab the next blue, which is the top of the third column. And now you can work out where you want your brightest spots to be. So I'm going to create some lovely new bright tones. Try and sort of leave gaps where you think you can, like let some darkness sort of live in there. Don't worry though, we can introduce dark tones later on. I'm just going to go ahead and create some lovely bright hair here at the top especially. Really now going for it with the color in terms of just, it's all starting to get a little bit more punchy. I haven't said that for a while in my tutorial, so sign that off of your bingo card. And let's go around here as well. And you can be a little bit kind of purposeful, add in just like a streak that really does sort of show that you're capturing the light where it's all landing and on the fur and being very purposeful with it. Like here, I'm going to definitely make sure that these kind of whiskers here, almost like shapes, are going to get some light just underneath the eye onto that top area there. A little kind of few dashes in there. You can see I'm leaving kind of the central area of the eye socket and maybe a couple of light tones in there. And then probably we could wrap around like a few hairs here onto this underside here of the mouth, just to give it some separation from below. So just a couple of stray ones like here. Let's maybe think about, there we go, a little sort of random, I love a little random messy kind of going against the grain kind of flick here and there. I think it looks really cool. There we go, nice and messy. And we'll just add in a few more just around the eye because we've got some shadowing to add in here later anyway, so we can just make sure there's some detail in there. And just triple check you're really happy with it. Again, you can go to town. You can always come back to this as well, to be honest with you, and really add in even more bright highlights. But at the top especially, just have those lovely bright streaks at the top, almost like highlights in the hair. Lovely. So we'll keep that like that for a minute. We've got a few changes to make later. While we're working with fur, let's just carry on into the rest of the elements. So what we'll do is we'll now go ahead and we will scroll down. We're going to bring the body back up to 100%. And we'll turn off the arms on the side there so you can see the edges. So making sure you're on the body here, create a new layer and tap on it and clipping mask it. Tap on it and drawing assist it. Go back to your colors and grab then the top of the second column and we'll add in some fur. Now, this is all going to be underneath the head, so we will shadow it later anyway. But just like before, we actually need to go ahead and go to the body, go to our adjustments and Gauge and blur and swipe from left to right. And let's just go up to, again, around about sort of an 8 to 9%. Go back to your layer above for your fur and just start working that in. Think about how it would flow down the body. So you can just add in lots of streaks. Now, again, as I kind of mentioned before, it might even be easier for you to go round the bottom edge first And then in a minute you can really layer it on. So you can bring in some lovely fur streaks here, and they're going to sit in front of the feet as well, so that'll look lovely if you can start to really work this area in here. Lovely. And then just keep layering it in, following kind of patterns and flow. Like I'm trying to add in like a bit of a curve here to just emphasize the roundedness of the body. A couple more sort of streaks in there, and then it will kind of straighten up towards the middle just based on how we're looking at this. Again, don't worry about it kind of getting too bright underneath in the kind of top of the body. We can always fix that later on with some shadows. Less is more always, so just take a look, zoom out, see what you've got, and then we've got the highlight tone to add in a second anyway. It's just more making sure we get that kind of edge nice looking, all good. Now let's go ahead and tap on it and turn off the clipping mask, because that shouldn't be clipped. So that might look a little bit different now, but that's exactly how we want it to look. So we're just going to make sure there's some nice bits of blue around the edges. Again, softening that up. Just giving ourselves a nice fluffy body in here. Now, occasionally you may want to consider actually turning off the drawing assist so you can get some random lines on either side that are unique to each side. I'm personally not fussed about it, but you may well be. And let's go ahead and create a new layer again. Tap on it. Let's drawing assist it. Let's go to our colors and grab the top of the third column. Let's go back to the layer and change its blend mode from normal to add, and bring the opacity down to about 50%. Let's get straight back in here, adding in some brighter tone. Just on, you kind of only really get the allowance to do it just around about here, because the body and the head would cover up a lot of the light from above. So it's roughly this kind of area here where you can add in some streaks of hair, maybe the odd one going against the grain, maybe a few on the outer edges, but just thickening up the body in this sort of middle area here. It does look really nice and really dense, which I think looks quite fun. So I'm just going to add in a bit more towards the top, but you can already see that under shadow taking place already. So let's now go ahead and put that into practice with the arms. So we'll bring them back in. Let's go ahead and go up to our adjustments straight away and go to Gaussian blur and swipe from left to right, and we'll blur them out again 9%. Then go back to your layers, create a new layer, tap on it and drawing assist it. You want your color to be set to the top of the second column, and just like before we carry on in exactly the same fashion. You want to think about flow though, so you want to go ahead and send the hair out this way and then let that kind of make its way down. Again, you may find it more comfortable to start at the bottom, so you can wrap a little bit of fur around there, showing the fur kind of wrapping under, almost like it's onto a kind of knuckle-like shape here, and then it kind of flowing down. Occasional little bit of fur going the opposite way, looks fantastic. And we're going to leave the kind of bit where the body's sort of sat in front a little bit darker. So I'm purposely already trying to sort of leave less fur in this kind of area here, almost like where the armpit would be. And then just adding in enough that we can get rid of that fuzzy line almost, with a few strays just running away. A little bit of extra blue wrapped under there. Again, leaving the inside nice and dark. Let's maybe just add a bit more here though, because I imagine that the light would come down, catch just on the edge of like what looks like a bit of a sort of paw almost in here. A couple of stray ones going the opposite way. And to be honest with you, I think I'll just leave that like that. Oh, maybe just the tiniest bit in there. We can never necessarily be done, can we? We've always got to add more. Now, we want to go ahead and add in all of these dark elements and also start to kind of shade this and whatnot. So let's go ahead and start at the very bottom, because we've got our feet down here. We're going to go ahead and just tap on this and alpha lock it. We'll go to our colors and we'll grab the gray. It's the bottom of the 6th column. Your brush wants to be the option of airbrushing and the soft brush. Set your size to around about sort of 1 to 2%. And at the bottom here, just kind of accent, say like the right hand side of what you imagine is like almost like hoof-like shapes here. And I think I'll go ahead and bring my brush size down a tiny bit to 2%, just a little bit of gray on this one, but mainly on this outer one will be fine. Bit more towards the bottom. Lovely. And then from there, we will also go ahead and go to our colors again and grab the dark tone for it, and just triple check that we just actually blend those out, and also give yourself some nice dark spots in the hoofs as well. So in the gaps between these, I imagine that it's quite dark. So I'm just going to blend that out over the top and underneath the fur. Let's give it a nice dark shadow. And while we're talking about shadows at the bottom, let's go ahead and create a new layer. Let's drag it underneath the feet. Let's then go ahead and go to our colors. Let's grab this dark blue here again, bottom of the 5th column. Set your soft airbrush to something like 16% and just tap anywhere in the middle of the screen with a blob. Then grab your cursor, grab freeform and just stretch it out, flatten it down, move it down so you can just about see this kind of general shadow. Don't let your shadow get clipped at the bottom, as in like don't let it go off of the edge of your canvas. Now just sort of position it in the center, just so it sort of is wider or wide enough that it's just underneath your arms there hanging down. Again, just stretch it out if it's not. Then go ahead and swipe that layer to the left and duplicate it. Grab your cursor, use uniform and just scale it down in size and position it underneath the feet. So you want one here, and swipe that to the left and duplicate it, and grab your cursor again and just move that one across. Again, you should get 3 blue lines if you've moved perfectly across, and stick that one underneath the other foot and tap on your cursor when you're done. And now you've got like a gradual shadow on the outside, but also these nice dark ones underneath the feet. Now I want to go ahead and go back into our layers. I'm going to pinch all the shadows together onto one layer. I'm going to go ahead and leave the feet. We've done them. We've got the arms, which are fine as they are. The next layer above is the claws. So we're going to tap on the claws and alpha lock them. We're going to go to our colors and grab that gray again, bottom of the 6th column. Brush wants to be set to the soft brush under airbrushing and set that size down to like a 1 to 2%. We want to zoom in here and we want to go ahead and just sort of add a bit of a highlight to these kind of like claw-like shapes here. A little bit like this. You can maybe even go to your grey as well at the bottom of the 3rd column. And then bring that brush size just a smidge smaller and just a smidge, not that much. Just a smidge smaller so you can just brighten up the kind of the claws in there. Now they look quite odd at the minute because they just randomly just float there. So what we'll do is we'll actually tap on it and add a mask to it. You'll know you're on the mask because it's the darker blue out of the two. So this is actually clipped to this. So on your mask, your color should be set to black and your brush needs to go back. Now, if you go to the very top of your brushes and just go to recent, you can just quickly jump between the brushes that I'm using today. So we want fine hair again. And all you want to do is follow suit with the flow of your hair, not perfectly, but if you go ahead and just run that across your knuckles there, and maybe even bring the brush size down to like an 8%, and you can just manually get rid of it and just sort of show how the fur is engulfing the sort of root of these claws, and then they just poke out from within. And that's all you need to do. But it looks really nice and tidy and effective because you let those blues just run it across and it just blends in. So it just like it nicely nestles in there. Let's then go to our layers. We've got the body above. Now for the body, the only thing I want to do here is just this area here. I want to go back to this layer. I want to go back to my color for it, which is top of the 3rd column, and the brush back to 25%. Once you see things with other elements, such as these feet here and so on, sometimes you sort of get the impression that you may need to add more to certain areas. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Just towards the base down here, I'm going to kind of just wrap in a bit more blue here and there, just towards the base of the body. I can always tone that down later on. In fact, I could even do it now. I could go ahead and tap on it and bring it down if I needed to, but I'm going to leave it at 48. While we're working here, we will go ahead and create a new layer. And this is not going to be clipped, but we do want to tap on it and drawing assist it. You want to go to your colors. We want to go ahead and grab this tone here. It's the bottom of the 5th column. And your brush wants to be the soft brush under airbrushing. You want to set your brush size to around about, say, 9 to 10%, I'd imagine, if not slightly larger. You want to darken up underneath the head there and just spread that round ever so slightly, but trying your absolute best not to go up here because, of course, then it's just a shadow that's floating. You want to put that shadow in the corner there and just kind of wrap it down. You can blend this out a bit more as well and really tone it underneath that shadow of the head. And then you can go ahead and go to that layer, tap on it, and you can change it to multiply, which makes it a little bit more blue, but it also makes it darker. And you can just tone that down to about sort of 60% there. And look at the difference. You end up with this lovely shadow cast there. Now, what you can do is actually go down a layer to the details that you've got on your arms there. Now, if you want to, you can actually pinch these 2 layers together for the arms. So the arms now are on one layer. If you create a new layer in front of it and tap on it and drawing assist it, you can just go ahead then and just shadow inside of the arm in the exact same kind of fashion, just darkening it up, but not too heavy. And then change the blend mode from normal to multiply and just bring the shadow up and down depending on how dark or heavy you've pressed. I don't need to press very firm because I also kept quite a good amount of shadow in there already. So with roughly around about about 30%, looks pretty good. I can leave that shadow just in there. Let's then move up in our layers. So we've got the main sort of body. In front of that, you've got all the shadows for it. We've then got the horns. Let's go ahead and tap on them, alpha lock them, go to your colors and grab the gray again at the bottom of the 6th column. We're going to zoom in and we're going to add in some lovely highlight on here. So let's go to around about, say, like a 3 to 4%. You want to kind of create like your main line here. So you're going to kind of wrap that round a few times, just layering that in, that lovely gray in there. I say lovely gray, like people love gray, but some people do. And then we'll go ahead and just widen that up a tiny bit. You may want to just tuck in the tiniest little bit of gray under there. Then go to your colors and grab this gray here, bottom of the 7th column. Slightly smaller brush than you were working with just a second ago. In fact, a little bit smaller than that, maybe 1 to 2%. And you want to just kind of then press a little bit firmer in there and then set your brush size a bit bigger, about 3%, and blend that in. So you end up with a lovely little bit of highlight on there. And that highlight just needs to just wrap round onto the very top. You can maybe even sort of bring it round a tiny bit as well. So you end up with this kind of effect on top. If we zoom out, it's coming together. I know the face looks a bit odd because we've not finished it yet. We've got the body head here, we've got in the fur, and then we've got the highlights as well. I'm going to probably come back to all of those later. Let's move into the mouth. So what we want to go ahead and do is we want to create a new layer first of all and drag it underneath the mouth. Tap on it and add the drawing assist. Go to your colors and grab this blue here, top of the 1st column. You want to go ahead and just bring your brush size to around about, say, 3%. And what you want to do is you want to outline the mouth, giving it kind of lips almost. So you go round, bring the brush size down to like a 2 or 3% and just go around the bottom as well. Now, potentially, if you've not gone very close to your mouth, you should actually already be fine and have this already. But you want to set a nice blue tone in there so you've at least got a little bit of a border. Then go to the blue above it. So that's the top of the 2nd column. You want to go ahead and then just give your lip there at the top like a bit more colour, like so, leaving the dark blue just on that edge there. So you should end up with like a little bit of a kind of top lip looking kind of shape to it. And you want to just grab your brush about 3% and kind of just blend that out up a little bit. It's like just blending that up in towards the sort of rest of it. Then bring your brush size down to like a 1 to 2%. And then we're going to leave that dark blue right up there against the edge and then just come around the bottom like so, trying to create like a bottom lip in there as well. That's nice. And let's also equally just grab a bit more blue, about 2%, and just kind of blend that out at the bottom. There we go. Just kind of trying to give everything its space. Lovely. So that looks like it now actually recesses, it curves inwards, and now we can go ahead and focus on the inside as well. So we're going to go ahead and go to the teeth, so the mouth. Let's create a new layer, tap on it, clipping mask it, tap on it and drawing assist it. Go to your colors and we want to go ahead for the teeth. We want this color here. It's the middle of the 2nd column. Your brush wants to be set to monoline. Now in my practices, I initially sent this to 100% and just created some really fun, simple teeth by just sort of starting here, using the drawing assist, create some nice rounded shapes and then create sort of the subsequent bottom row as well. Lovely and rounded. Now try not to sort of get them too close to each other, potentially focusing a little bit heavier on the top set of teeth potentially than the bottom. So you can make your bottom ones a little bit smaller. And then from there, you can go ahead and just keep making your way across. And then as you kind of get away towards here, you might even just have to do one stroke with the brush so that you can nicely just fit some in and then maybe a little one out there and then maybe a tiny little one up there too. So you've got some nice cheesy teeth in there. Then we can go ahead and start to highlight and shadow these. So let's go ahead and tap on them and alpha lock them. We'll go to our colors and we'll add in the highlight first, which is going to be the middle of the 3rd column. Your brush wants to change back to the soft brush under airbrushing. and we want a brush size roughly around about a sort of 2 to 3% potentially. And you just want to brighten up sort of the tops of the teeth a little bit, like a little bit of a curve to them. But as they make their way further in the mouth, you kind of want to focus the highlight a bit more towards the inner side of the tooth. So you can see here I'm just wrapping it in a little bit back here, nothing crazy back here, a little bit like so. And on the top row we do the same, just give that little bit of a highlight down here, a little bit of a highlight on there too, a little bit on there, zoom all the way out. Let's then just go ahead and just make sure that the very bottom edge of the teeth above are nice and white at the bottom. And then also the top edge are potentially nice and bright down here of these main teeth. So you bring the brush size down again, like a 1%, just triple check you've got some nice bright spots in here like so. Then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and keep it on the same layer. We'll go to our brush color and go to this one here, middle of the first column. Set your brush to the soft brush still around about say 3 to 4% and just add in a shadow on that top row. And then you should be able to then, once you've added in a good shadow, you can then just blend that down a little bit more, really kind of darkening it up. You equally need to add a shadow to the bottom as well, so you can just tuck the teeth inside the mouth. And then you may also want to go ahead and go to your brush and be kind of particular with it. So this tooth here would always be in front of this one, so you could just add in a bit of a shadow there to indicate that potentially. And if I set the brush size a bit bigger, I can do the same again to this one here. So I could shadow in this one, hopefully bringing this one forward a bit, and then a little bit of a shadow. You can see I'm kind of following the curve now of the tooth before, just trying to add in a little bit of a shadow, staggering the teeth. You can go ahead and shadow in between these as well. It will look quite nice and tidy. A little bit in there, a little bit in there. Awesome. And we could go ahead and brighten those up as well. We can go to our layers and create a new layer, tap on it, we'll clip and mask it, and we will tap on it and drawing assist it. We'll go to our colors and grab the gray again in the middle of the third column. And let's go ahead and go back to our layer. Let's tap on it and change its blend mode to add. And then we can add in some little bit of extra highlight. Be a bit gentle and sparing with this. You don't want to add it in too heavily. Just a little bit of bright tone on these teeth at the bottom potentially. If you've added it in and it's really bright, don't stress over trying to constantly change your pressure. Just go ahead and lower your opacity in just a second of the whole layer. So I'm just going to brighten up that edge of that front tooth. I think I'll just add in a much lighter streak to it, maybe a little bit there. Now don't forget you're not clipped to the teeth as well, so it's really tricky to kind of do this. And as I said, just go back to the blend mode of the layer and bring the opacity all the way down. Zoom it up and down so you can see the difference, and just maybe set it to around about say 32. Keep it simple. Let's add in a tongue in the simplest way possible. We'll tap on the body there of the mouth and create a new layer. Tap on it and drawing assist it. Go to your colors and grab the red in the bottom left of the palette, and your brush wants to be set to something around about say 3 to 4%. You start off really lightly and just add in a bit of red and then brighten up the red towards the bottom. That's it. You just need to have that little indication of red and it will poke its way through. Then what we want to go ahead and do is actually mask the mouth and the layer below. So what we're going to do is we're going to tap on the black layer here for the mouth and add a mask to it. Making sure you're on the mask and your color is set to black. We're going to go to our brush and go to the fine hair again. Now what we want to do is we basically want to allow some of these sort of hairs to run across, and kind of so it just shows that the hair's a bit wild. Now we have got this kind of lip layer which we're going to fix in a second in exactly the same way. I just want to, in the corners here, just have a few hairs where possible just running over the corner of the mouth. I'll equally go back to the layer below, which is that kind of lip layer, tap on it and mask that too, and just cut out the hair in a similar way. So you can just let some of those bristles just run across, and then that corner of the mouth now is like embedded underneath the fur. The fur is super high, which looks great. Now if we go to our layers, where are we? So with the mouth, you're pretty much done. You don't need to necessarily make any changes to it. If you want to, you can pinch the mouth together onto one layer. I'm going to leave it as it is, but you can do, and it shouldn't be a problem. Let's then go ahead and carry on. So we've got then the nose at the top here. We're going to tap on the nose and we're going to alpha lock it. We're going to go to our colors. Going to grab this gray here. It's the bottom of the 7th column. Brush wants to be set to the soft brush under airbrushing. We want to set that size down to about 1 to 2%. And then we're just going to brighten up the top of the nose like this, with a little bit of a kind of grey coming down the main bit of the nose there too. And then we'll bring that brush size down 1%. We go back to our colours and grab then the grey down here, bottom of the 7th column, and we just brighten that up ever so slightly, so 1 to 2%, just on that top edge. There we go, lovely. Just a little bit of colour on the nose, making it nice buttony like nose. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump straight to a layer that's driving me a bit nuts, and it's this fur layer here. It's the bottom one. I want to tap on that and go to my colours and grab this colour here, top of the 2nd column. Soft airbrush selected, and I want to just make sure I add in a bit more blue here in the face in certain spaces. So just a little bit of extra blue around the eyes like so, and a little bit up and around in here. This dark blue shouldn't be so prominent at this current stage in terms of adding in the shadows which we're about to implement. So just a little bit more blue wrapped around the actual face of it. There we go. Now, if I go ahead and go back to the nose layer that we were just working on, which is all the way up here, if I create a new layer underneath it, tap on it and drawing assist it, I want to go ahead and go to my colours and grab that dark blue again, bottom of the 5th column. Brush size nice and small, around about 2 to 3%. Shadow in there and shadow underneath it as well. Just creating a little bit of a lovely bit of top lighting, a little bit of a buttony nose as well that sticks out. Now let's go ahead and also address some of the eye area, because I want to go ahead and go to this layer here above our lovely bright highlights, and I want to create a new layer. Tap on it and go ahead and drawing assist it. I nearly said clipping mask. We'll go ahead and set the size to around about sort of 5 to 6%, and you just want to go ahead and just start to just add in a nice dark shadow around the eye, round into here as well, and then a little bit just to kind of give that bridge of your nose a little bit of a darker tone as well. So it's nice and light in here. You can stretch that out a little bit over towards here too. You can go ahead and equally go ahead and set your brush size to around about 7%, and just maybe a little bit of darkness underneath, under here as well. Just rounding it off. It makes it look a little bit more 3D and rounded. Let's add in the eyebrows as well. So let's go ahead and go right to the top of our layers, create a new layer. You want to tap on it and drawing assist it. We'll stick with the same color, but you want your brush to be set to the monoline brush. And we're going to draw in some lovely cute eyebrows, and they want to be kind of over here like so, little kind of jelly beans almost, a little bit off to the left hand side. And you can go ahead and grab your eraser by holding down on it and switching to the monoline brush, and maybe just kind of give them a little bit of a thinning, but you want to go ahead and just round them off on the edges, making sure they're as round and as jelly bean like as you can. Lovely. And you want it to have that kind of cuter, innocent expression to it in this version anyway. Let's then go ahead and go to that layer, tap on it and alpha lock it. Go to your colours and grab the grey, bottom of the 7th column, 6th column. Brush wants to be set to the soft brush under airbrushing. You can tell I'm going a bit nuts. Every time it gets to about an hour, start to just lose myself a little bit. Anyway, we're just going to brighten up the top of the eyebrow like so. Then go to your colours and grab the lighter tone just beside it. Bring that size down, and then we'll just add in a little bit again, a little bit brighter on that top edge. And then let's equally shadow underneath them as well. So we'll tap below. And in fact, we can just use the shadow layer of the nose. Let's go to our colours and grab the bottom then of the 5th column. Get that brush size to around about 2 to 3%. You want to zoom in and just lightly underneath there, maybe a bit smaller for me. Just a little bit of a shadow just underneath the eyebrows like so, giving them a lovely little bit of indentation. Okay, so at this stage, we are almost done. I'm just going to show you, first of all, the final tweaks that I'm going to make before I'll show you how you can adjust loads of things like the face and the shapes and everything. I'm going to go down to this layer here, it's the highlight layer for the face. And I'm going to go to the colour for it, which is top of the 3rd column. And my brush wants to be the soft brush. I'm probably just going to give it a general bit more highlight up here. I want to kind of just emphasise that the general colour is not so much like a dark tone, but should be a little bit brighter than it is. I want to make sure I only kind of apply it in areas where the blue was before, and just hopefully adding in a little bit more colour on that top of the head to again emphasise the colour coming down from above, and the light, should I say. So there we go, a little bit more colour. Now you can change things and it's really fun to do. For example, if I wanted to go ahead and grab, say for instance, the face and change the general shape of the face, as long as they all say assisted, so you tapped on it and added the drawing assist, I can go ahead and swipe from left to right on all of those layers for the face general shape. If I go to adjustments and liquefy and use push, I can really have some fun now, just sort of bringing in the head maybe. Like let's say I wanted to make it really narrow here and have a really wide smiley face, or I could go ahead and exaggerate the jaw a little bit more and widen up the head even more. I may want to go ahead and squish the head at the top a bit more, kind of, and also pushing upwards as well, which adjusts all the fur at the same time. So you don't even have to rework that, which is so fun. You can move that up. You can maybe sprout it out a little bit higher at the top as well. You know, really have some fun getting your final tweaks. That looks really cool. I quite like the shape of that. I might even just push it up a tiny bit at the top there and just scale it in a bit more, so it's got a bit more of a rounded head top to it. That looks quite fun. I quite like that. I'll tap on my adjustments when I'm done. You can always tap with 2 fingers afterwards and see what it looked like before and after. Maybe I'll leave it like it was before. Now you can do that also though for anything. You could go to the mouth. I've selected all of the layers. They all need to say assisted again, and you need to make sure that no layer is alpha lock. So tap on it and un-alpha lock it. Swipe from left to right on all of those. Then go to your adjustments and go to liquefy, and you may want to adjust the mouth. You may want to raise it up in the corners a bit more to make it a little bit more happy potentially. You can raise it and lower it. You can really expand the mouth size if you want to, and you can use elements like expand and, you know, make it much, much bigger if you need to. Obviously that's a really wild version of doing it, but I can tap with expand and make a huge mouth if I like the look of that a bit more. It does look quite cool, to be fair, and you could bring the pressure and momentum a little bit lower down and, you know, give yourself a nice cheesy smile potentially. I kind of like the almost worried look of my monster. The other thing you can do is go to, say for instance, the eyebrows at the top here. Go to your adjustments, liquefy. It's alpha lock, so let's turn it off. Let's turn off the alpha lock. Let's go back to our adjustments and go to liquefy. And you can just adjust the angle of them ever so slightly. Now, do not point these down. I am potentially going to do a kind of demon version of this, but just use push. You really want to make sure in this version, again, if you're following suit with me, that you have those kind of small little sort of shapes in there that are quite innocent looking. And then in the next version, we may go ahead and adjust this and make it a bit more evil looking. For now, something like that looks fine. I think potentially I could go ahead and just bring the brush size down and just move them across a bit more in towards the center, and maybe just a little bit higher and a bit more sort of curve to them potentially, just moving them around ever so slightly, just to change up the expression ever so slightly. Let's see if I can maybe push them down on the edges as well, just to kind of make them look even more kind of innocent looking. That looks pretty cool. I'm quite happy with how that looks. Let's tap on my adjustments. I'll keep that one. And again, you can do that for all of the different elements. You can go down to like the body here, for example, and swipe from left to right on all elements of the body. Go to your adjustments, liquefy, and see if you want to widen it, flatten it, whatever you want to do. You can make it nice and narrow like this. You could also go ahead and when you tuck them in, you also condense the fur a bit more as well. So you may want to kind of squish everything down like this potentially, and just see what looks nice and tidy. You may want to shrink the body scale a bit more. You may even want to give them a bit of a trim here on the edges and scale it inwards a bit more. And I'm just going to keep tweaking. I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong way to do this. You can just keep tweaking until you are happy. And again, you just select all the layers for the element, use liquefy, and just widen it up potentially. I'm going to widen up the mouth there just a tiny bit and tap on my adjustments when I'm done. And again, if you're going to follow with a future version, I'm going to go ahead and show you my layers here so you can make sure everything is exactly the same. We're going to go ahead and delete the grid at the top. We've got a layer here for the brows, we've got the nose, we've got the shadows for them. We're going to go ahead and delete the eye group. We don't need that anymore. We've got the mouth in here. Now for the mouth, I'm going to pinch the add layer to the teeth. So your teeth are on one layer. We want to keep the tongue. We've got then the actual mouth shape. We've got the outline for it as well, and you can pinch them masks to them as well, so you can tidy those up as well. You've got all of the elements here for the face as well. Now we can actually go ahead and swipe from left to right on all of those, and you can go ahead and group them together, and you can rename it and call it face. There we go. We may collapse that down and potentially even actually pinch them later on in the next version. We're going to swipe from left to right on these elements here as well and group them together. And that is the body. and we'll rename the group and call it body. So this is just making sure when we go to the next version, you're exactly the same as me. We've got the claws. We're going to pinch the mask to the actual claws there. We've got the arms as well. So we're going to go ahead and we'll swipe from left to right on all of that, group it together, and we'll call it arms. Collapse that down. We've then got the feet and the shadows, and that's it. So all your layers now should look like this. Everything should be nice and ready to go for maybe a future version. I've got some ideas which I've already sort of planned out. So if you want to join me for that, make sure you're subscribed to me on all channels. That's pinch with 2 fingers and go full screen with 4. And we end up with today's finished design. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It was a little bit longer, but there was lots of things I wanted to make sure, again, that we set up for future versions. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to tag me in your finished creations wherever you decide to share them. Subscribe to the channel for weekly Procreate tutorials. But if you want even more tutorials from me, you can come and join me over on Patreon, because that's where I post 3 exclusive tutorials every single month. And the catalogue sits at over 140 exclusive tutorials at the time of recording. And if you enjoyed this tutorial here on YouTube, you'll love this one on the screen now. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.